Today we're going to be looking at Les Filles du Roi, episode 294, Louise Faure dit Planchet. And she comes to us from a viewer request. When I looked in my files, I only had one example, and it was one of my dearest friends here in Arizona, and her husband, who has a very strong French-Canadian ancestry. This is one of his great-grandmothers as well. Louise was born in 1636 in La Rochelle, France. Her parents were Jean Faure and Ozanne Planchet. Now, she comes to us from the region of France known as Nouvelle-Aquitaine and the département of Charente-Maritime. Now, La Rochelle is a very large city, and it was founded during the 10th century and became an important harbor in the 12th. Until the 15th century, La Rochelle was to be the largest French harbor on the Atlantic coast, dealing mainly in wine, salt, and cheese. Is there anything better? The name was first recorded in 961 as Rupella, which meant little rock from the Latin. La Rochelle has got to have one of the richest histories of all the towns of France, from its beginnings as an area where the Knights of Templar had their strongest base. Eleanor of Aquitaine married Henry Plantagenet in 1152, who would become, 2 years later, Henry II, thus putting La Rochelle under Plantagenet rule until Louis VIII captured it in the 1224 siege of La Rochelle. During the time that the English controlled the city, Henry II had the Vauclair Castle built, remains of which are still present in the Place de Verdun. From 1568 on, much later, La Rochelle would become a center for the Huguenots. It was in La Rochelle that the Protestant revolutions occurred and created the uprising that would become known as the Siege of La Rochelle. Throughout the 1600s, the Huguenots were expelled from La Rochelle. Now, she was baptized in Saint Barthélemy, which is a church that dates from that period of the 1500s. Definitely, she was not Protestant, and she was simply born in La Rochelle. But you can imagine being born into that kind of angst, if you will, and knowing that you are part of this very, very strongly. It's almost like having a civil war in your backyard. Would arrive in New France aboard La Nouvelle France ship, arriving July 3rd, 1668. Her father had passed away, and she brought with her a dowry worth about £200. Groom that she selected and who selected her, his name was Pierre Gagne. Now that name may ring some bells for you. He was born 1647 right at Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré in Quebec. His parents were Louis Gagne and Marie Michel, among the earliest pioneers. I normally don't do this in the middle. I usually do this particular finding Louis and all that, but I wanted to make sure to put it in there. It is Louis Gagne, who is featured in the volume 12 of our French Canadian ancestors. Please have a look at that. I've provided the links for you in case you wanted to explore this a little bit more. The Gagne family is very important to New France. They would settle first at Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré, where the Gagnes were among the pioneers, along with such families as the Roys and the Tremblays and the Cloutiers. Absolutely among the very first. The settlement began in 1650 when lands along the St. Lawrence River were distributed along under that seigneurial system. Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré as a parish was officially founded in 1658, and these early settlers combined farming not only with their Catholic faith but with their devotion. And Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré's history as a religious Mecca was begun in 1658 when, while the church was being built, someone was healed, a Louis Guimont, who we've actually profiled him, and it occurred when he was healed. And so by the late 17th centuries, pilgrims began traveling to Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré from across New France and later Canada to seek healings and blessings. And so this church that you see in the upper is Saint-Anne de Basilica of Saint-Anne-de-Beaupré, where people go like it's a pilgrimage. A million people a year go there. And there's a spot where all the crutches and all of the wheelchairs and anything that people have been healed from is left as a monument, as a testimony. It really is an incredibly special place. And this is where they began their family. Now, they would eventually move to Cap Saint Ignace. I would think that the Gagne, he wanted to have his own place, like children of today. They don't want to be in the same place as their parents. They want to strike out on their own. Cap Saint Ignace was founded in 1672 and was born from multiple land grants from the intendant Jean Tanon. 5 different seigneuries were created that eventually formed Cap Saint Ignace. They each had their own name: Vinsalot, Lillette, La Fesnie, Saint Joseph, and Saint Clair. And they would then, we don't know where the name Cap Saint Ignace comes from. A small cape forming a peninsula in the river is the origin of this name, Cap. As for Saint Ignace, it is probably in honor of, by the Jesuits, in the honor of their founder. So that is where they would establish themselves. Go on to have 8 children. Pierre would marry Louise Faure and would have 12 children, 10 of whom made it to adulthood. Jean would marry Marie-Madeleine Langlois and have 10 children, 7 of whom made it to adulthood. Marianne would marry Denis Faure, her brother-in-law. His sister Louise had married her brother Pierre. They would have 9 children, 6 who would make it to adulthood. Joachim would not leave any descendants. Marie, we do not have any more information on. François married Elisabeth Langlois and had 5 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Louis Agassiz married Elisabeth Charland and had 5 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. He then married Marie Boudreau and had 4 children, 3 of whom made it to adulthood and 2 who left descendants. And finally, Elisabeth married Joseph Fournier and had 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. This is a very remarkable family in terms of the progeny, as we call it. The 1681 census finds Pierre, Gagne, and Louise there. You can see that Louise is significantly older than Pierre, so that's always interesting for me. But she was able to produce so many children at her age. I mean, seriously. And they have Pierre, Jean, Joachim, François, Marie, Louis, and 2 guns, 10 bêtes-à-cornes, so that would be 10 horned animals. And then we would find 14 harpamala, about 10 acres of land. Pierre would pass away sometime after May of 1710. He was about 63 years of age, and he and Louise would have been married 41 years. Just amazing. Louise herself would pass away in 1714 at the age of 78, and she left us with 56 descendants as of 1729, but I suspect there were many, many more after that. So it's one of those where it starts small, but I suspect there's a lot of you out there. So with that being said, please let me know in the comments below if you are a descendant of this remarkable couple. One of my very favorite things to research is when I come across a founding family, and certainly the Gagnes were, and it was wonderful to see how Louise intersected and how she helped grow the family. Although the line of descendancy was only 56 as of 1729, I am certain there are lots and lots of them as time has moved on. So please let me know if you are a descendant of this particular lineage. I would really be fascinated to know. So we want to thank Louise for her stamina, for her ability to continue on and to withstand whatever life threw at her. She was truly a woman of substance. So thank you, Louise, for coming to our shores and gifting us with your presence. We bless your memory. And I also want to say thank you to my patrons, supporters, and subscribers. Thank you, each and every one of you. You really are special. And my little Valentines, I call you. Sometimes I go, oh, they're my little hearts. So thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you for helping me grow this channel. I really appreciate you. So with that being said, I will see you on the next episode of Les Filles du Roi. Until then, au revoir.